General Hospital spoilers, Spinelli catches Maxie hiding a pregnancy test, and the truth she's been running from finally catches up. Port Charles is about to be rocked by a revelation that could shatter 2 relationships, break one man's heart, and leave Maxie Jones facing the most devastating reckoning of her life. It started with something as small as a cardboard box tossed quietly into a trash can, the lid closed softly. A prayer whispered into the silence of what she thought was an empty apartment. But the apartment wasn't empty, and the secret Maxie Jones thought she had just buried became the fuse on a bomb that's about to blow everything apart. A careless moment, a devastating discovery. Damien Spinelli wasn't supposed to be there at that exact moment. He wasn't looking for anything. But as he stepped into Maxie's apartment, what he caught in the corner of his eye stopped him cold. Maxie moving with deliberate, nervous speed toward the kitchen trash can, slipping something inside and closing the lid like she was covering evidence. Because the box was small. The kind you find tucked in the back of a pharmacy shelf between vitamins and allergy medicine. A pregnancy test box. Spinelli didn't say a word at first. He watched Maxie straighten up, turn around, and nearly jump out of her skin when she saw him standing there. The color drained from her face instantly. In that split second, everything Spinelli needed to know was written across her expression: the guilt, the panic, the desperate scramble of someone caught mid-secret. The confrontation that changes everything. What followed wasn't a scene of jealousy or rage. Spinelli, ever the methodical mind, didn't explode. He didn't shout. Instead, a cold, calculating quiet settled over him, the kind that comes when a brilliant but wounded man starts running the numbers and doesn't like where they... He asked her directly, Maxie, what was in the box? She deflected. She stumbled over her words, tried to laugh it off as nothing as old as something already handled. But Spinelli wasn't listening to her words. He was watching her hands, her eyes, the way her body angled away from him. He had spent too many years as an investigator to miss the body language of someone unraveling. Then quietly he told her what was actually scaring him. It wasn't jealousy. It was math. He had been replaying the timeline in his head. The stormy night they had spent together, the rain hammering against the windows. The way the world outside had felt very far away. He'd run the dates, the weeks, the details that most people would never bother to track. And something wasn't adding up. The timing between that night and Maxie's apparent pregnancy didn't fit cleanly, or rather, it fit just as precisely with another window of time he hadn't wanted to think about. Tell me the truth, he said. Because I need to know if I'm actually the father. The room went very, very still. Maxie breaks. Maxie Jones has survived a great deal in Port Charles. She has faced loss, grief, and heartbreak that would have crushed a lesser person. She is resilient by nature and guarded by instinct. But standing in her own kitchen, staring into the face of a man who loves her completely, a man who was now asking the one question she had been running from for weeks, she had nothing left to hide behind. She broke. The tears came fast and hard, the kind that aren't delicate or photogenic, the kind that bypass dignity entirely and come straight from somewhere deep in the chest. She sank against the counter, and between the sobs, through the gasps for breath, the truth came pouring out. Yes, she had chosen Spinelli. She meant that genuinely deeply. When she had stood at the crossroads, she had looked into her own heart and made a decision. She chose Spinelli. That was real. That hadn't changed. But there had been one night. One terrible, weak human moment she had been trying to erase ever since. Nathan had come to her at the most vulnerable possible time. Something between them had reignited just for a moment, the old chemistry, the old history. The way two people who once loved each other can fall back into each other like gravity. And in that one unguarded night, the choice she thought she had made so firmly cracked right down the middle. She hadn't planned it. She hadn't wanted it, not rationally, not with the part of herself that had already chosen her future. But it had happened. And she had spent every day since convincing herself it didn't matter, that she would carry it alone, that no one would ever need to know. Then the test turned positive. And suddenly, it mattered enormously. The question with no easy answer. Looking at Spinelli through her tears, Maxie finally said the words she had been most afraid to speak out loud. She didn't know who the father was. Not because she was careless. Not because she didn't love Spinelli. But because the timing of that one night with Nathan was close enough painfully terrifyingly close enough that she couldn't say with certainty. The math that Spinelli had been quietly doing in his head, Maxie had already done it 100 times over. The answer was always the same, she couldn't be sure. Spinelli absorbed this in silence. The quiet that settled over him wasn't the quiet of acceptance, it was the quiet of a man whose entire understanding of his own life had just shifted beneath his feet. He had walked into this apartment just minutes ago, believing in the way you believe, in things that feel permanent and solid. That he and Maxie were building something real. A future, something that was finally, after years of longing and near misses, becoming tangible. Now he was standing in her kitchen, listening to her tell him that the child she might be carrying could belong to the man she had supposedly chosen him over. There are no words designed for that moment. Spinelli didn't find any. The weight of devastation. The look on Spinelli's face wasn't anger, though. Anger would have been easier to witness. It was something rawer than that. This is a man who has loved Maxie Jones longer than almost anyone in Port Charles can remember. He has waited. He has hoped. He has stepped aside and come back again and again, never once stopping believing they were meant to find their way to each other. And now the moment that was supposed to be the beginning of something permanent has become one of the most painful scenes of his life. Spinelli didn't storm out. He didn't lash out at Maxie, though. No one would have blamed him. What he did was perhaps more devastating. He simply looked at her for a long moment and then quietly turned toward the door. He needs space. He needs time to process a truth this sharp and this impossible. Nathan's shadow. Meanwhile, Nathan West is somewhere in Port Charles, completely unaware that the secret he and Maxie share is no longer just theirs. He doesn't know that a pregnancy test has been thrown away, or that Spinelli has already started asking the questions that lead directly back to that night. He doesn't know that Maxie is sitting in her apartment right now, shattered, watching the door that just closed behind the man she chose and wondering whether he's ever coming back through it. When Nathan finds out, and in Port Charles, everyone always finds out, he will have to face not only what happened between them, but what it may have created. The emotional fallout isn't contained to one relationship anymore. It's spreading outward, and it won't stop until it reaches everyone in its path. A secret that cannot stay secret. This is the nature of the secrets Port Charles keeps best. They don't disappear. They wait. They grow. And then they surface at exactly the moment that causes the most damage. Maxie knew this somewhere in the back of her mind. She always knew this was coming. You can throw a box in a trash can, but you can't throw away what it means. Spinelli saw it. And now the question that will define the next chapter of all three of their lives hangs in the air unanswered. Who is the father? And whoever it turns out to be, what does that do to the people left holding the other answer? General Hospital fans will not want to miss what's coming. This storyline is only just beginning, and the road ahead for Spinelli, Maxie, and Nathan is going to be long, painful, and completely impossible to look away from. Stay tuned.